Hello, everyone, and welcome to Asian Pacific Voices Radio, where you'll find stimulating conversations that explore diverse topics and stories that impact our Asian Pacific American communities. I'm your host, Rasha Goel, and I am so thrilled today, especially because I'm a huge fan of one of her shows, but we'll get into that. We are thrilled to welcome a versatile actress and producer whose on-screen presence has captivated global audiences from the fantasy world of Dollhouse to the sleek dystopia of Altered Carbon and the corporate enigma of Severance. Born in Nepal to a Tibetan mother and Australian father and raised in Adelaide, her multicultural roots and fearless creativity have helped her navigate an extraordinary career across continents, genres, and generations. With roles in Jurassic World Dominion, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D, and The Brother's Son, and much more, she continues to shape powerful narratives that challenge convention and expand representation in Hollywood. It is my pleasure to welcome Dichen Lachman on Asian Pacific Voices Radio. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, it is such a pleasure to have you. I'm so excited to speak with you on so many different topics, but especially around Nepal too. It's not often we meet people in this industry that are from Nepal. And that was so fascinating to me. Now, you were born there, and I understand you stayed there until you were the age of 7?
Yes, I lived there with an extended family till I was about 6 years old. So we started in a little apartment in Tamil, and my mom and dad and myself and another girl, Sita, who was living with us, shared one room, and then my uncle, aunt, and their children were in one room, and then my grandfather slept in the living room, and so it was like very tight quarters. But it was just such a extraordinary experience because, of course, Nepal has like developed at light speed since then. But at that time, in history, there were still people living like they lived hundreds of years ago, and there were days where we wouldn't have electricity, and it was very shut off from a lot of the technology that was sort of taking off in the West. So I feel like I got to live back in time a little bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When we moved from Tamil to another house, behind our house, there was rice paddocks all the way to the airport, and people growing rice, living in, mud huts made out of clay with like cow patties like thrown on the wall to dry so they could use it for fuel. So it really was like this magical, extraordinary experience that I'm so grateful for.
I love that. And, I can relate to that because I'm Indian and I have gone back and visited some of the villages and smaller towns in India. And there is something so magical about that, just the presence of it all. Is there something from the Nepali culture that you'd like to share with people that we don't maybe often talk about?
I mean, it's actually not too dissimilar from a lot of Indian culture. And I used to always look forward to a festival where we would throw dye, uh, powdered dye and water. I've forgotten the name of the festival because
Holy.
I haven't. Holy, yeah, of course. I thought there was another name for it, but yeah, Holi was like the most fun, colorful thing that I
Yeah.
like would look forward to. And it was more the way of life, the people coming and selling, the betel nut, carrying it on their heads, calling out. It was this sense of community and this sense of people always living out on the streets, flowing
Yeah.
out of their little huts, like and living and working on the streets, selling dried tamarind with chili, which I'm like obsessed with. Actually, I think in some Mexican stores in California you
Yes.
can buy something very similar. But it was that feeling of everyone was very much in the moment. There, because life was so simple, it it makes you less I don't know how to explain this, but my father always observed, because he came from Australia, the West, that it was extraordinary how little people had
Yeah.
who were, and their happiness levels were so extraordinarily high. And I've always thought if I was going or ever put in a position where I was, you know, objectively, like biblically poor, I would want to be poor in a developing country rather than in the West, because there's a stronger sense of belonging, I think.
Yes, yes.
It's hard to articulate, but I think you understand
No,
because
I
you've
completely understand. It's with having so little, they're still so happy and they find the joy in life without the materialism all around them. And I think
yes.
that is a key. Well, and it's so fascinating. So, you were born in Nepal, you were raised in Australia, and here you are working in Hollywood between two different continents. How do you feel
It
this
seems
multi
impossible,
right?
doesn't it?
I don't you make it seem easy though. You make it seem easy. How do you feel your multicultural upbringing has influenced your sense of identity, and especially when it comes to selecting the roles that you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think the selective part is something that's coming, as an actor, and I think so many actors who are listening to this in your early stages where you're forging your career, the selective part is not so much. It's more like how can you get as much experience and exposure as possible? I think that multicultural upbringing and living, like I like to think of as like back in time and then coming to the West, it gave me a duality and a groundedness that helps me have a curiosity about my characters, but also like a sense of being grounded in just as a human and knowing kind of like, you know, what's really important at the end of the day, and just having a work ethic and a sense of humanity with the people that you're working with, and just everyone being on the same team.
And speaking of that, you've been able to do some very creative projects. I mean, some of the genres that we've seen you in include excuse me, thriller and fantasy. Are these particular genres that you just feel that you're attracted towards, or do you feel that they give you more room to explore your identity and belonging? Or does it
I
just
think
happen that way?
Right. I think part of it is exactly that. And I'm very fortunate. I am attracted to it. I think it's attracted to me. I think that from when I started in this industry to where we are now, which I think is remarkable, so much has changed. When I started, I was consistently told there was no room from someone that looked like me in this industry. Um, and it was just a lot of kind of like, oh, you want to be an actress, right? Like good luck.
Oh.
um, and I persevered, and I'm very lucky to have people who advocated for me when they did and gave me a chance. But about maybe 8 to 10 years into it, things really started to change, and I feel like part of it is because a lot of people who were immigrants who had children who had found their sort of um, some level ground just economically, their children had more permission to pursue the arts. And you also, being Indian, would maybe relate to the fact that our
Absolutely.
families tend to encourage their children to be doctors and lawyers and accountants and engineers. And the arts is such a volatile, unknown world. It's like, oh, we were running away from uh, instability to create stability. So we're, not sure if you should be going back into instability. It's all very practical. But I think there's just a lot more voices on the other side of the camera, writing and directing and producing. And so there's more authentic voices, and also just this consciousness about diversity has all, I feel like, really happened in the last 10 years, and it's been magical.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, there's definitely a change that we've seen. But do you feel Or is there a hope that that you'd like to see more Asian characters that are written or cast? I mean, do you feel like we're there, or do you feel like there's still more work to be done when it comes to that?
I think there's so many great efforts being made. And I think to answer the question, I just realized that I didn't answer before. uh, I would be told a lot like, oh, you look like you're Asian, but from the future, which is why I think that, I would
Oh,
get a lot of like sci-fi roles because there's something kind of, mysterious about my background. It's hard to pinpoint, which is
yeah.
why I think I kind of lean into the sci-fi space a lot. But to answer this question, I think that the work that I want to be a part of contributing to, and that I'd like to love to see more of, is just breaking type. And I
Yes.
think that happens a lot. But even myself, I find have been very close-minded. I went to Mississippi to do something a while ago, and I met uh, all these Asian people living in Mississippi, in Biloxi, Mississippi, with these
Wow.
very strong Southern accents. And to me, it was like a unicorn. I'd never like, but it was because I guess I'm not that worldly. Like, of course, there are Asian people with broad, Southern accents, and I think it's about just placing people in roles that you might not think to, but that are
Yes.
completely possible. Like, even in historical dramas, I was really impressed, and I'm going to forget the name of the movie, but I think Margot Robbie played Elizabeth in a film about Elizabeth, and I think Gemma Chan played like a historical
Yes.
character, and I was like, oh, hold on a second, like, was she wasn't, but it's very open minded of them to kind of delve into doing something really different, and just breaking the construct a little bit. And I thought that was admirable.
And I'm hoping to see more of that too, because it'd be nice to not have to see us playing characters based on the ethnic identity, right? Like
Right,
you could play a Miss Casey. It doesn't right denote like what ethnic background you are necessarily. And I think
right.
it's great if we continue to see that. And I do hope that we continue to see more of that growing. I want to jump to Dollhouse real quick because I
Oh, yeah.
understand that you said that that once changed your life. So what was it? Was it a moment in the career? Was it that role? What made that a turning point for you?
Keanu Reeves once said to someone I knew that in this business you didn't need one lucky break, you kind of needed 10. And I think Dollhouse was like my third lucky break, but it was the one that made the biggest impact on my career up until that point, because not only did I get to work with some of the most lovely, extraordinary people, from the writers to the crew and some of the actors who are friends to this day. Um, but Joss had this ability to just really nail down talent, and I loved that show because it was such a fun show to work on, with such awesome like ideas, and the scope of it was so large at the time, and we shot the first season on film. We had incredible sets. It was just incredible. I didn't know, I was like, I don't know how I got this lucky. um, but the writers on that show went on to do wonderful things, and they kept giving me jobs, and I made incredibly lifelong friendships with some of them. And it wasn't just a lucky break professionally, it was a lucky break personally because of the people that I met, in my friendship circle.
I love that. I love when the magic like that happens, right? Without it being forced and it's just so naturally
Yeah,
evolving. And
it's really special.
I have to jump to Severance because of course that's been I mean I also do a podcast on Severance for the after show. So
Oh, I'm gonna have to
definitely,
listen to that.
yes. We'll send that over to you. And so there's this other attachment I have to Severance because we've been doing that since season one. We did this with the latest season. So Miss Casey and Gemma, I mean, this is definitely, it's a, these are characters you play with an eerie calm, I would say. So how did you prepare to embody these characters that you bring to life, and that, there's like a very psychological, I think, moment that's going on when you step into these characters, especially when you're watching this show. Did you draw from personal experiences, or what was that like for you?
I think it's impossible almost not to draw from personal experiences sometimes when, especially when you're working on like the more human aspects of a character, like with Gemma. With Miss Casey, I had very little information in terms of where it was going, but I really worked on finding her voice because I thought her voice had to be really specific for the environment she was in and the task that she was tasked to do on the severed floor. And it sounds like she had also been to other departments to work with some of the other people. So I worked on finding her voice, which is like very, very different to me. And then I read and listened to a lot of Eckhart Tolle, if I'm saying that correctly,
Yes.
and just exploring subconscious and inner child and the ego, and the journey of that and the pain body. And so I don't always do that. Sometimes I just will write a really long backstory and I'll get into it that way. But in this situation, I felt like it had to be a little bit more specific in terms of the mind and where this person was, because their innie is essentially very new, and in their subconscious they're holding all of these things, but they don't have there's a wall, a barrier to them. So it was just about finding that balance of like, where is she floating.
Hmm. And I'm so surprised you mentioned Eckhart. He's someone I've followed for many years.
Oh,
And I've
wow.
read all his books. And so that is so fascinating to me. That could be a whole different show talking to you about,
I know.
because,
I wish I could find my notes because I wrote down her whole journey through his lens,
wow.
and I'm because I've been moving around so much
Oh
the
my
last
gosh,
few years.
that
I
is
have no
so
idea where
fascinating.
they are.
You should share that, Teachin, if you ever get a chance, like just record a
I'm
video and
gonna look
share
for
that,
them. I'm gonna look
because
for them.
there's a whole community out there that would be so fascinated, because they are very connected to what Eckhart teaches. And then, of course, being attached to the show and knowing how you
Right.
integrated that, that's so
Yeah.
powerful, you
It was
know?
almost this moment where I was listening to him. And I just started like writing, and I just writing all these notes, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is like, it's almost like he's done my work for me because I found her journey through these
Wow.
processes of the mind, and it was like a really beautiful moment. You know how sometimes things just kind of like click and it's
Yeah.
all very accidental?
I love that. And then did you kind of apply that for Gemma too? And my heart went out to Gemma. I had a really hard time this season, but I'm so happy we got to see more of her, because I think for certain people there was an attachment to her. Like, where is she? We wanted to see her win at the end, and we wanted to see, is she alive? What's happening? So, what was it like stepping then into her? Were you kind of bringing some of the Eckhart, or was that a completely separate journey with Gemma?
With Gemma, I focused on the relationship that she had with Mark and like really trying to ground that and find where her essence was. And I sometimes this is going to sound weird, but sometimes I explore with scents, like
Oh,
perfume when, I mean, I'm not like a professional, but perfumes have like this top, middle, and base note, I think. And so I was like finding like her scent for each different room, and then finding her scent with Mark, and then, you know, trying to, because I love plants, which is something I have in common with Gemma. Trying to find these like floral and notes and like really interesting, like, or incense or ouds that just sometimes when you smell something, like it really like takes you right into like a feeling or a vibe. And so I would play with that, and then getting to know Adam better really helped, like, just relax into just having a colleague that you're comfortable speaking to. And the rehearsals were absolutely imperative. And I also did, like, I talked to people who'd been through what she'd been through. So that was more sort of like picking little pieces, just like building a little life, right? Because Miss
Yeah.
Casey was very, it was a short life, whereas Gemma had a life that was lived, that had pain, that had suffering. And even though that was going on in Miss Casey's subconscious, I wanted to just like draw lots of different things in for her to try to fully flesh her out, because it was so important for the audience and also for me to do a good job so that people felt something for her, so they understood why Mark put himself through this whole thing, the amount of
Yeah.
grief he had.
And we did. We did. I mean, it definitely came through. I love hearing about your process on that. Did you ever get lost on that set, by the way, with all those walls and the
All the
hallways?
time. All the time. I think a lot of people did, but most of the time we have very dedicated people following us around and making sure that we don't, but sometimes we do.
Well, it seems like such a fun set to work on. But you've played so many different characters, and I would say very powerful but complex women. So whether they're warriors to counselors to villains, is there, how do you decide which character resonates the most with you on a deeper level?
Which character resonates the most, or in the sense that how do I get to resonate with them deeply in each situation?
Or like, yeah, I would say how do you decide which which of these characters resonates with you on a deeper level in the situation that you're in?
Yeah, I guess, I've been so fortunate to, I don't know how this happens, but work with such incredible writers, and the world that they build, the attention to detail that they put in is so much of the work. And then really physically finding it, for example, with Altered Carbon or with Anya and the 100, like such physical roles where you really have to get into it on such a, like, your whole body
Yeah.
has to be in that part. And that's really exciting and enjoyable because you feel like you're really living that life. When you have to
Mhm.
get on a horse, or you have to do a sword fight, and you've been rehearsing for 3 months, and the amount of work that goes into it with every little piece of you, it, it's it becomes like an innie of you, right? Like,
Right. It was
it's
physical, right?
where, yeah, we're almost severing ourselves from who we are when we're acting, and we're going into these like innies. And so in a way, I've I've had so much fun. The difference is that I remember the process, but experiencing living these different really powerful, badass women. And that resonates with me because I want to be more like that in my life. And it's sort of one of these challenges to find my voice a little bit in my life
Mm.
personally, out there in the world, you know, um, to be that fierce, is something that, I mean, not fierce like some of the characters because they're murdering,
Right.
horrible people,
Walking out there
but
with a sword.
right, exactly. But just fierce in the sense that, these characters that I played really stand up for themselves and their convictions. And, you know, I feel like I'm on a journey to still finding my voice and finding my guidelines and finding my relationship to the world around me as a woman, as a mother, as a lot of roles that we all play in our life. You have a lot of roles that you have in your life. And in each role, we have strengths and weaknesses. And so I love these characters because I take a little bit away their strength away with me every time I get to play them.
Oh, I love that. And I'm sure they offer some little nuggets of each of them that you feel you could incorporate into your own life, right? Do you do you feel teaching that you're at a comfortable point in your career, or do you feel like it's always ever evolving with Hollywood? I mean, you've been on some great projects and it feels like it's been constant flow for you. And of course, that's all of us have seen from the outside, right? We never really know what's happening on the inside of someone's life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, I think that I feel like actors, I'll speak for myself. No matter where I am or how wonderful I feel like, oh, this moment's like really cool, you still always feel like you're climbing up a mountain face with your bare hands while birds are attacking you and you're just trying not to fall down. And those birds can be external, but they can be internal too, like your own demons, and I feel like, I mean, I don't, converse with that many people so deeply on this level, but I would imagine that even the people we think and we look at and we're like, oh, God, it'd be nice to be there. I'm sure they must feel the same way, but for different reasons. And it's a constant battle with yourself, which is part of like your journey. It's also a constant battle with external factors. Like, for example, we've been talking about different roles, and there are lots of roles I didn't get that I would have loved to play. And I believe I would have been perfect, but for one reason or another, it just like the universe was like, no, it's not for you. So there's always this like inner battle and external battle, which I think everybody experiences
Oh
in
yeah.
life. And we always look at other people and think, oh, their life looks like it's comfortable or it's perfect. But I feel like everyone is going through something, and that's why I feel like, I always try and obviously we can fail, but to try and just be compassionate and come from compassion toward anybody, because even if someone um, might seem like everything's fine, or maybe it seems like they're not, but not to try and make it about myself. It's like they're going through something. It's like, that saying, it's like it's not about you. Like if you
Yes,
meet
it's
someone
about
and they're
them.
having like a bad day and they're unkind to you, it's probably not because of you.
Mm-mm.
They're going through something, this inner battle or external battle, their little like storm.
Yes.
Um, but I feel like that once you are comfortable, then you've also lost something. Because I love this book. I feel like you've read it because of your vibe. It's called The Alchemist.
Yes. Oh
And
my
yes,
God. It's
it's
an
such a
epic.
great, oh my God.
Yes.
I reread it sometimes just because I love it.
It's
And do
so
you remember
good.
that line? It's the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I feel like always like just, I don't know if I'll ever get to the top of that mountain. And I feel like maybe some of those internal forces that are like pecking at me on my way, they will slowly go away, but there'll always be external things. And it's just about hanging on and going on the adventure and
Yes.
seeing what happens.
And it's the adventure because there will always be another top of the mountain, right? You'll get to that
Yeah.
peak, but then you'll have another peak you want to climb. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's never ending. I love that book. And the Four Agreements is another
Oh,
good one.
that's so good and so important. I sometimes read it to my daughter because she's only not, oh, she
Oh,
turned 10, but it's like kids take things so it's like it's not personal, right?
no.
It's
Yeah.
it's
It's
it's not.
remembering all that. No, that's awesome that you're sharing that with your daughter. Oh my gosh, we could talk forever. I don't want to keep you on too long. I do want to ask you this though. Your film and television work has really resonated with global audiences and it's reached there. But what is there a personal story or passion project that you would like to see come to life?
Um, there are so many things like going on in my brain right now. I'm trying to write this movie with my husband that I think will be really cool, that I was inspired by just sort of like going around the traps in London. I'd love to do a Western. There's so much. I mean, other than a few things that I can't talk about, a couple of them right now that I have to go and do. Life is life as a mother and life as an actress is so hectic. And
Oh,
so, like, one of my biggest projects is trying to be the best mom that I can be to Matilda right now, just because she's only 10 and I feel like I have like 3 more years before she's her
yeah.
own, like completely her own entity. But in the meantime, when I have moments, I am working on these things with Max and some on my own. I feel like I'm really moving into that space in my life where being creative on my own and not just waiting for permission is becoming so important to me to fulfill myself.
And I think that's the world we live in, right? Like at this moment, you can't just rely on people hiring us for work anymore. You have to be able to put your voice out there to be able to create and to have that confidence in creating material that you want to share with others out there.
Yeah, and to, everything can be slightly derivative because that's just how the creative mind works. But it's about how you execute it and how you tell the story. And, you know, I think that it's a exciting time because I think more and more
Yeah.
people are doing that. So, it's wonderful, and I'm so glad we got to talk. It's
Oh,
really
me
cool.
too, Dijon. This has been so much fun. I'm going to end with a quick lightning round, and I'm just going to throw
Oh
out
yeah.
words at you and just
Okay.
whatever comes to top of mind. Okay.
Okay, okay.
All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Sci fi, period drama, or noir?
I love all of them. I say period drama.
Brad Pitt or Chris Hemsworth?
Oh my God, Brad Pitt. I love Chris, but I'm just because it's Brad Pitt.
Brad. Describe yourself in one word.
Complicated.
That doesn't seem so. Okay. Favorite comfort food?
Oh, it's called YY. It's this Thai noodle, 2 minute noodle packet that's been around for like 50 years. We used to get it in
Oh,
Kathmandu. It's like you can eat it dry though.
oh,
And you get it at the Thai market and you crunch all the noodles up. And then it's basically a packet of MSG and garlic powder. And then I think it's onion oil
okay.
and dried chili. And you crunch it all together. And if you want to get creative, you can put tomatoes and lime juice in there. And it's delicious.
That sounds yum. I've never had that before. And if your life were a film, what would the title be?
Oh my God. What would the title be of my life? This is gonna sound really corny. East to West.
I love it. Makes sense. Oh my gosh, this has been so much fun and such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for making the time. For those who are watching or listening, I'm in Los Angeles and Dijon is in London right now. So you all know the time difference that we have. And it's been such a pleasure. Where can people find you or keep up to date on what you're doing when it comes to social media?
Yes, I have to get better at social media. I'm on Instagram and what's it called now? I have an X account where I will post like Severance stuff, and Ben's quite active on there with his sports. He
Yes.
follows the basketball. Um, but mostly, on Instagram, and I'm going to try and engage a little bit more about some of the things that interest me because I always feel like, oh, I don't know if they're going to be interested in what I'm interested in. Like I make this turmeric milk thing every day that I mean, you would know because you're
Because
from
I'm Indian.
India. It's like turmeric, pepper, and warm milk.
Yes.
And you can
Yes.
add a little honey for inflammation. And I like, I swear by this.
It works.
I swear by
works.
it. It works. It really does. And I'm like, oh, but do you think anyone would care? And then I don't know. But
yes,
I'm going to do it because I think I need to share some of my little potions that I make that, are big in the East, but actually they're kind of catching on in the West about the benefits of like turmeric and curcumin.
But I think coming from you, it's going to be even more powerful, right? Because you've experienced it firsthand. It's different when someone learns about it. And I think that's the magic that we bring because it's a part of who we are. So you should do it. I'll be there watching and sharing. So I definitely think because people would be interested. I want to just take a minute once again to thank you for being our guest. It has been such a pleasure, Dichen Lachman, having you here on today's show. And I also would love to thank all of our guests and our listeners who are here with us. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to reach out. Don't forget you can subscribe to our program on your favorite podcast platform and follow us on Facebook, on X, Instagram, and of course, our YouTube channel. A friendly reminder that Asian Pacific Voices Radio is produced by Asian Culture and Media Alliance, a nonprofit that empowers the Asian Pacific American communities with a voice through media arts. Now, if you'd like to support our program, you can visit us at acmasocal.org. Once again, I'm Rasha Goel. Thank you so much for joining us on Asian Pacific Voices Radio. Keep tuning in for our empowering and inspiring stories. And until next time, be safe and find joy in your life.